God had 5 reasons in creating me. And we call them purposes. There are 5 purposes as to why God created us, each one of us. And especially when we become believers. We are here to serve. We are here to work towards fulfilling our 5 purposes. The first one is that God created me that I may learn to know him and know him intimately, develop a friendship, and come to a place where I enjoy being his son. I enjoy fellowship with him, friendship with him. That is God's purpose number 1. In Genesis chapter 1, verse 26, as early as Genesis chapter 1, the Bible says, let us make man in our own image, after our likeness, and let them have dominion. He says, let us. He speaks of himself in plural, and he speaks about us in plural. Let them have dominion over the fish, over the birds, over the cattle, and over all the earth. Leave alone the dominion for now. Let's deal with the image and likeness. He created me in his image so that I may have the capacity to relate with him. There is a part in me that is able to recognize God's presence, that is able to commune with him. In Genesis chapter 2 verse 8, and I love this one, Adam and Eve heard the voice of the Lord walking in the garden in the cool of the day. Several points right there. Number 1, they could recognize his voice, meaning his voice to Adam was different from the voice of Eve. And to Eve, it was different from the voice of Adam. And then they could tell which direction he was. He was in the garden. And they could tell whether he was standing, sitting, or walking. Because they say they had him walking. My God. And then they could tell when. They say in the cool of the day. Therefore, God created me in his image that I may have the capacity to know him, to love him, and to enjoy him. In Genesis chapter 2, verse 19, the Bible says, God brought everything he created to Adam for naming. Is in this working happily together? Is in this unity of purpose? Can you imagine God bringing an elephant and asking him, what we call this one? He says, elephant. He brings a lion. What? Lion. Like, yeah? With the majesty of the lion. And then comes a baboon and he says, baboon, monkey, rat, mice. You know, he gave them names, working with God, happily enjoying. And then he created man to have dominion on earth. We have seen already that in Genesis chapter 1, verse 26. Let me put it this way. God created everything on earth. He created everything for man, and man for himself. We are here for God. Only God enjoys having us. And we enjoy having everything else he created. God has no fellowship with the lions. Apart from enjoying seeing them like we do, he can't commune with them. If 2 cocks were fighting over a hen and God came, the cocks would still continue fighting. But when man sinned and God came in the garden, he went hiding. Why? He believed God has eyes. He felt the shame. In fact, he knew that you cannot hide from God. But the human tendency to want to hide, they could not overcome it. So God created everything for man, but man for himself. Somebody said, and I agree with him to a large extent, that in God there is a man-sized gap. God is not totally fulfilled without having money in his life. And then there is a God-sized gap in man. You cannot be really happy. You cannot be really fulfilled unless God occupies your heart, takes his rightful place in your heart. Unless you are right with God, unless God becomes your friend. The act of loving God, enjoying God's presence, having friendship with God, serving him and serving with him, attending to him. Did you hear me? Attending to him. Ladies, wives, love attending to their husbands. Make tea like her husband loves it. Fry the meat as her husband loves it. That is attending to. Make the bed as your husband loves it. That is attending to. Now that act of loving God, serving with God, attending to God, intentionally, in a focused manner, in a targeted manner, is what we call worship. So in essence, the first purpose, and maybe the most important, that God created us. He created us with the capacity to worship him, and for the reason, for that purpose, as the main purpose, he created us for worship. He created us to worship him. No wonder when he gave commandments, he said, you shall have no other gods except me. He's a jealous God. He guards that worship jealously. God bless you. Keep liking, keep subscribing, keep sharing these messages. They will bless somebody. Remember, you are not alone. We are in this together. We are only apart and not for long. Thank you.
Baba,